Hello and welcome back. So today we're gonna start looking into basically creating a very simple table view application, and in future videos we're gonna expand upon basically doing more stuff with it. And to get started, we're gonna create a very basic table view using the storyboard. And in the next tutorial, I'll also show you how to create the same table view with the programmatic approach. All right. So let's first. So I've got this just plain app open. I just created this app and there is nothing that I have added into it. So literally like file new and single view app. That's what it is. So before we actually get into coding, let me drag and drop some of the images, and you can find these images basically provided along with the resources. So let me drag these 4 folders, and what these folders contain are basically some images, and these are images for different kind of fruits. So we are going to be creating a fruits app, basically showing the list of fruits and their benefits and stuff. There are 2 sets of projects. So there's a fruit and there's a small fruit image, and there's veggies and a small veggies images. So so basically all these images are rescaled to 100 by 100, and these are full size images. For future videos, when we get to custom cells and custom rows, we can actually use these images to show details about the fruit. All right. So once we have that, let's first create 2 of our helper methods, to helper classes that are going to help us basically in this setup. So we're going to call first one food. Okay, and this is going to be a simple model class. So let me drag it down here. Okay, and this is going to be UI kit, and class name is food. All right, and food is going to have 3 properties. So we're going to have a title of string type, and then we'll have subtitle. That's going to be string type as well. Then we'll have image, which is going to be the image of the food. Okay, and we're going to have an init method, and this init method is going to accept title, subtitle, and image. All right. Should name these subtitle. Okay. All right. So we're gonna assign self dot title is equal to title. Self dot subtitle is equal to subtitle, and self dot image is equal to image. All right. So that is our first model class. Now let's create a class which is going to help us out creating a sample data basically. So it's going to be our data source. That's what we're going to use, and we're going to call this fruits and veggies. All right. So it's going to be again UI kit class fruits and veggies. Alright. So this class is going to have 2 properties. There's going to be a name. So let me create our name string, and food item. And food item is going to be of type food. Okay, and we're going to have another init method. It's going to accept name string, item, items, I should pluralize this one as well, food items, and this is going to be food type. There we go. Basically it's a collection of food that's been passed to us via the initializer, and we're going to say self.name is equal to name, and self.food items is equal to food items, like so. Okay, now we are going to create two of the static functions that are going to return basically a set of fruits and a set of veggies. Okay, so I will actually create a static function, and we call it fruit set. Okay, and it's going to return fruits and veggies, and there's going to be another one, static func veggies set, and this is going to be fruits and veggies. There we go. Alright, so now let's create a variable for our fruit items, and it's going to be an array of food, and initialize it. And you can say fruit item dot append a food. Okay, and food is going to be its initializer. Okay, so we're going to use apple as the first item, and I'm going to copy some text here, which is something about apple, and apple smell image. That's what we're going to select. Okay, so you're going to copy this, paste it over, and the second food item is going to be apricot. Okay, and going to paste some properties for apricot, and going to replace this with apricot. Okay, alright, and let's copy these two, and next item is going to be a blueberry. Okay, so basically what we are doing is we are creating a collection of different fruit items, and we are creating our data. So instead of you watching me type all this stuff, what I've done is I've created these. So let me paste in rest of these. Okay, so these are all the other fruits. So I have blueberry, fig, and orange peach. Okay, now what we can do is we can create our return type. We can return our fruit and veggies, so we can say fruits and veggies, and there's going to be a name, and this is a set of fruits, and fruit items is our food items. Okay, now similarly we're gonna do the same thing for our veggie items. So let me copy and paste that, and okay, so we have fruits and veggies, and veggie items. Okay, now I mean, we can have these two set return this data, but for some of our examples we also gonna need both of these. So you can create another method called static func food items. Okay, and it is going to return basically an array of fruits and veggies. There we go. And we're going to simply return an array that's going to call fruits and veggies dot fruit items fruit set, and fruits and veggies dot veggie set. Okay. All right. So that completes our data model. So let me drag it down here. Okay, so now we are ready for our first table view. But before we get to that, let me do some cleanup. So let me move and create a new folder, create a new group without folder, and this group is going to called it is going to be called helpers, and you're going to move these guys inside that helper, also these two. There we go, and that makes it a little bit clean, and I'm going to move this down here. Okay, and let's create a new group, and we call this basic table view storyboard, because we're going to create a table view using the storyboard in this one. Alright, so let's select our main.storyboard and let's search TableView. I'm going to drag a table view down on the scene, and then let's set some constraints. So what we need to do is we need to have this table view touching all the covering the whole screen. So we're going to say 0 0 0 0 across. Alright, and once we have done that, we need to do one more thing, is we should embed this into a navigation controller. So select editor and go to embed in navigation controller. There we go, and we have that. Okay, and this arrow points that this is our initial screen. Okay, so once we have the navigation controller, let's give this table view a title, this view controller a title, and this is going to be basic table view storyboard. Alright, okay, so once you have done that, let's drag a cell out, and table view cell is basically the item that's going to be repeating over and over. Okay, and if you look at the property window, you're going to find that there are several different styles of representing a cell. So we have custom, that we're going to come back later on to do something custom in that, but there are some pre-built types like basic, right details, so you have a detailed icon and a title, then you have left detail and a subtitle. Now if you notice, some of these have this image popping up basically right underneath when you select the style, and the reason is some of these styles, although they don't show, but they have an image view, so we can actually leverage that image to show our food item images as well. So let's create some let's set some properties and then populate this table view. So the identifier is actually a way to identify a cell. So we're gonna define it as identifier as cell, and basically this is something that Apple uses for and recommends for performance reasons, because when you see a table view, it may contain hundreds of rows, and those hundreds of rows are not visible at the same time. At max, at same time, at one point of moment, you can only see 10 cells, or more than that, or less than that, depending upon the size of your cell. But you don't see all hundreds of thousands of, like, cells that are there within the table view. But you can actually always scroll up and down to see more content. Now that's where this whole idea of reusable cells come in, where you can have a cell identifier, and when your cell goes off the screen, it's actually recycled. So instead of initializing a new cell, your old cell that's no longer visible is gonna get reinitialized, reassigned, and gonna get added at the bottom. Okay, so it's a performance technique. I would always recommend, instead of creating a new cell, you reuse that cell, and Apple has made it super easy to do it. So we can actually look at how we can do that. Okay, so we have selected a subtitle type, and now what we are going to do is we are going to go in our view controller, and let's clean up a little bit first. So I'm gonna remove these, and I'm gonna remove this as well. Okay, so let's first create an IV outlet. So let's select Storyboard and go to the assistant editor, drag or control drag TableView to your view controller and name it TableView, like so. Okay, and once you have done that, we can close this, go back to the view controller, and now we are going to start coding something related to the table view to make it show the list of food items. Okay, so first thing we need to do is table view has a concept of providing basically creating a notion of delegation. So basically table view, the UI table view, what it says is like the view controller who's implementing it has the responsibility to become a data source delegate. So basically view controller is going to be responsible for providing the data, as well as it can become a delegate, which means some of the functionalities like row styling or selection and stuff. View controller takes the responsibility for that as well. So what we can do is we can say our table view is our data source is self, and table view dot delegate is self. Okay, once we do that and compile, you're going to see error. The error says cannot assign view controller to the type UITableView and TableView data source. And the second one, it says cannot assign view controller to UITableView delegate. And the reason it's saying that because we have not conformed to the UITableView data source and UITableView delegate. So let's do that. So we can actually use extensions to do just that, just to make it a little bit clean coding style. So UITableView delegate and UITableView data source. Okay. All right. So now once we have that, we're going to see another error. The error says now that view controller does not conform to the protocol UITableView data source. So we actually need to implement some of the methods that are required by the UITableView data source. So the first method is number of rows in section. So how many rows are there for this section? I'm going to come back to that one. And the other one is self for row at index path. Okay, so number of rows in section, basically this particular method asks or controller actually provides the number of items that we're going to show in the table view. Now these are all the items that your table view is going to hold. And the second one is cell for row at index path. So this is basically one particular cell within that set. Okay, so we'll see, like it'll be more clear once we code it up. But before we code it up, let's create a variable where we can bring all the data in. So we're going to create a variable called data, and this is going to be a food type. It's going to be an empty array initialization, and then we can say for item in fruits and veggies dot food items, we're going to append everything that we get into the data. Okay, so item dot food items. All right, so that will create. So if you remember, fruits and veggies had two different sets. There's the fruits and vegetables. Now, what we are doing is we are basically creating a flat array. Instead of like having two different categories, we're going to dump all those food items into one single array. Because this is a simple implementation, we are not dealing with any segregation of types and stuff. That's why we are doing it, but in later videos you're going to see how we're going to utilize those two different categories. Okay, so once we have our food item available, our data is available, we can here for the number of rows in section, we can say return data dot count. There we go. And so total number of items in the data, that's what's going to be the number of rows that we're going to show. And for cell for row at index path, we're going to say we're going to create a cell saying cell and TableView dot dq. So this is the item that this is the line that I was talking about, that Apple makes it easy for you to reuse a cell. Basically what this does is this ensures that your app does not go out of the memory and you're not assigning extra memory for creating like thousands of cells that you're not showing, and at a time if you're just showing 10, there's only going to be memory for 10 cells that's going to be assigned. So that's the reason why we actually use DQ's reusable cell. Okay, and this identifier is the identifier that we set for the cell. So if we select the cell, is this guy right here is how it knows that which cell prototype we're going to use. Okay, so once we have done that, we can say cell dot text label dot text, and these are existing properties because we have selected the type already in the storyboard. We can say our data index path dot row. So basically whichever is the current row that you're looking at, right, dot title. Okay, so that's going to be our text. Detailed text is going to be data index path dot row dot subtitle, and cell dot image view dot image is equal to data index path dot row dot image. Okay, and we can return the cell. Alright, so that's about it. So let's select simulator and launch our app and see if it works. Okay, let's give it a moment. Alright, so seems like oh, okay, it took a little while to load. Okay, so as you can see, we have our image and name and subtitle showing up very nicely, and if I increase the size a bit, okay, so and you can scroll these and basically see all the other items. Alright, one optimization that I was thinking to do is instead of calling this guy right here, we can call it item and say like that, and instead of doing all these, we can say item dot build and run to make sure everything is working the way it should be. Alright, so it's still working. So that is the wrap for our first very basic table view. And in the next video, we're going to see how we can create the same experience using a programmatic approach. Alright, thanks again for watching, and see you guys in the next video.